We're live.
Let's fucking go.
Laisa Mendez, a.k.a. the Maverick, a.k.a. Florida's newest resident, a.k.a. founder of one of the largest women's groups, and a.k.a. one of the most phenomenal YouTube channels on the internet. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're doing it. I'm so excited. I'm so glad to be here. And I remember last time when I was on your podcast in the old house, we just talked about so many great things. And I think that you have a gift of being so incredibly raw and real and fun. And I just appreciate you because you just pour yourself out and you're as real as it gets.
Mask off, the real thing. I think it's also what you pull out of people, right? It's just the way you introduce me, what you see in me. I was thinking about it today. I'm like, wow, Ian has this ability of seeing the best in people. And I feel like it's a way of operating. It's a new level of consciousness of seeing, because we can choose to see the bad in people, right? But we don't get the good out of people if we only see the bad. And you have this ability of like, every time I call you, we're like, let's fucking go. And even if the day is not going, like it's not the best, but you have this ability of just like bringing light and brighten up. And it's how you choose to live. And I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, but I'm so grateful that you have been a vital part of Ice Bath Sundays.
Tell me how you plan to bring me to Miami, okay? Because that was planned.
Planned? First of all,
I was a victim, okay?
I was a victim. You DM'd me.
No, you planned. You're like, you're gonna come.
Well, it was a perfect timing.
Yes.
And we won. Sky over here. We're
happy
won.
to have you here.
Yeah. No, it was.
And this is a great place for you because
it was a big reason.
You're absolutely insane. You sleep in 78-degree weather. Let's start with that. For me, one of my favorite things on earth is 66, 65 degree cold.
I'm straight out of Amazon, okay? I need the heat. I need the mosquitoes. I need the whole thing.
You're the boa constrictor.
Yeah, I am.
You are straight from the Amazon.
No. I like the real weather.
But you fall asleep comfortably at 78 degrees?
Yeah.
And you have no problem?
It's natural, Ian. It's natural. Yeah. We're not supposed to be inside AC, inside boxes. We're supposed to be out in the forest. The closest.
Have you tried going in cold? Like, have you tried sleeping in the cold or?
No, I just don't like it. I know that it's good for my body, but it's just not. Since I was a kid, I like to be naked. I don't like to be wearing a lot of clothes. And I feel like we hide behind, like, pretending we're civilized, behind clothes and everything. It's like, no, we're basically animals. And not that we should behave like primals, but like being very primitive. But at the same time, I feel like the more we put stuff up, makeup and clothes, the more we lose our essence. And
blankets are included in that? Because I don't know if you've ever had like stacks of blankets on you and you're naked. That's phenomenal.
No,
it's the best of both worlds.
No clothes. Mask off, clothes off.
I do agree that naked for sleeping is the best. But no, I don't agree with the way you sleep. That's crazy. 78 degrees. It's proven.
It's a box. We're inside boxes.
You're
like
a big Andrew
Huberman
fan, right?
Yeah, I know that he says that we need to sleep in a very cold environment, and yeah. It's just not what my body likes. I always say that like my body hates sweets, but I love sweets. My body doesn't like it, so there are things that my body likes it, and
you're very intuitive. You're so plugged in with your body.
Yeah. I like to be naked since I was little, and people are like, "Oh, I like to take pictures naked." I'm like, "No, I like to be naked." Yeah, I feel like it's just the real thing, right?
It's the real thing.
Imagine if everyone was naked nowadays, no one would be fat. Do you think people would be fat if we wore very little clothes?
That's interesting.
You know, your ancestral DNA, maybe that's why you like sleeping in
European.
the heat.
It's European, actually. I'm like 85% European, and then there's like native. Yeah, exactly. I come like my great-grandma was indigenous, so
but you were
they don't wear clothes,
but
right?
you were born in Brazil.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What part of Brazil?
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
And when did you come to the U.S.?
It's been 9 years. It's going to be 9 years in December.
What was the impetus of coming in the first place?
I was running away from an ex-boyfriend. Yeah. And then I had just graduated.
All the way to the U.S.? Why the U.S.?
I was an architect, right? I graduated and I got a really good job in the best hospitals in Brazil. I was working with hospital architecture, and my family, I was living the life of my family, that they wanted me to graduate, to get a good job. And then when I came here, it's like I started from zero. I'm like, oh, now I can be whoever I want. Because before I was living for society and my family, right?
And you were alone. You didn't have any fam here?
No, I was by myself. Yeah.
What was that like? Was it just so freeing and amazing, or was it scary?
I always thought, I always had that feeling, like even when I was working in that hospital and then I started working in the other company, I'm like, there's more to life than that. And like, like the level of consciousness in Brazil, I always thought like, wow, that there are probably better places than here. And even though like I make good money, I had a good job, I was like, no, there is a better place than here. And just like that sparkle of like, yeah, there's something better. And then I had fear, but yeah, I was just like, it's a new life. And now I have the mentality of like, I'm getting my Spanish citizenship, right? And if I go, for me, it's like I already left my country and I came here. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, it's easy. It's just go, because I've done again. Like I've done once, so I can do it again. It's like when people have a lot of money, they're like, even if I lose all my money, I can make it all over again, because it's the mindset, right?
That is such a good attitude.
And it's the best way to develop as a person. Like the closest to a psychedelic experience is experiencing another culture. It's going to other countries. And just, I remember my first country, it was Bolivia. So before coming here, I went to Bolivia and Chile and Peru. And I remember just going to Bolivia and seeing those women with those dresses and just seeing the way they live their life. And I'm like, wow, it's totally different from the way that I always lived my life. And then I start absorbing the other cultures, and then I came here, and the more cultures you experience, the more perspectives you have, and that's how you can develop your own. Yeah.
100%. It's interesting that you said that's the closest thing you can have to a psychedelic experience.
Yes.
And you've had quite a few psychedelic experiences.
That's how my life got turned upside down. Yeah, but it's funny because when I moved here, I started living in Berkeley. I moved to like California, Berkeley.
In
and
SF.
And it's where the hippie movement started, right? So you would think that I started doing psychedelics there, but no, I was a gym rat at that phase. I was just working out a lot, and I never got into psychedelics. For me, drugs are all the same. Like heroin, mushrooms, for me, it's like all drugs. I don't touch those things. Even weed. I remember so
you're fully...
Yeah, I would like, if I spoke to you and...
You're a drug virgin till...
Yeah, totally. Like even weed. Like if I spoke to you 9 years ago when I moved here, and you told me that you smoked weed, I would be like, I can't talk to Ian anymore. It's like it was very simple for me. It's like I can't talk to him
anymore. Did that come from just how you were raised?
Yeah. Countryside of Brazil. So like very conservative. I worked at the church helping the priest and like the whole shenanigans at the church. So I was very religious and very, I don't want to say closed-minded. It was just my upbringing. Like very religious.
It seems that like rebelliousness is sort of what initiated the move.
that it didn't have a time to, like, since I was little, I never accepted being in the classroom. Like my memories of my childhood is me trying to run away from the school, because for me it's like, why are they trapping me here? And I remember a teacher, my mom took me out of one school because the teacher was gluing my hands. Like she would put tapes for me to be on the table, like on the desk.
She would tape you to the desk?
Yeah.
That's intense.
I don't know how it happened, but my mom said, I took you out because there were rumors that they were doing this to the kids, and I hated school. And Steve Jobs in his biography, he didn't write it, right? But he said that when he went through the whole like educational system, he said that they got very close to killing his curiosity, but they didn't. That's how he turned the person that he because if we're not able to have that ability to think for ourselves and be curious and question the obvious, the whole educational system, they raise us to be domesticated and not to question things and just to accept, to be a follower, right? we see nowadays, like what we have in social media is just a bunch of followers. All people looking for someone to give them the answers, and because they don't have the ability to think for themselves. So this ability to be curious, to question things, and to go after answers, and that's what Steve Jobs is talking about.
I love that. And going back on that theme of rebelliousness, do you feel that deep down you have something to prove almost? And you just kind of want to say F the system?
That's a subject in my therapy, because it's like, I know that is the archetype that I'm in right now. And it's difficult to be in this archetype because I'm always confronting people, right? Like this morning in the women's group.
When you say archetype, what does that mean?
It's an archetype. Like we play archetypes. Like Jung has like, I don't know how many, 12 archetypes that we play in our life. And one of them is the rebel. The other one is the common man and common woman, which a lot of people play the archetype of just trying to fit in and be normal. So
it's like
accepted.
the 12 archetypes of society?
Yes, and we all have all of them inside ourselves, but there are phases in our life, like the mom archetype, the rebel, the crazy. So like there are many archetypes, and I know that right now in my life, not right now, since I was little, I have the archetype of the rebel, and for me it's like I always need to go against the crowd, and I need to see where things are different.
It's a great motivator.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's a price that I pay, right? Because I could just be quiet. But like my energy is like, I like to instigate people and provoke them, make them think and wake them up. And people don't like to be woken up, right? If you see someone sleeping, like people just want to sleep. They don't want you to like, hey, wake up. There are things. It's
really uncomfortable.
You know? It is. And that's my job.
It's uncomfortable to come to the realization of the present. You know, most people just don't want to realize certain things because it's tough to have to face it. Like have to face the fact that you might be like, for example, addicted to video games.
Yes.
And like maybe you're just not being as productive as you think you are.
Exactly.
Or you're addicted to a certain habit and you just keep playing like, you know, dumb to it.
Yes. And imagine me telling my friends, and if it's you and you're addicted to something, I'm like, hey, Ian, it's time to, you know, I'm that kind of friend that is going to tell you that if you're doing something that is messing up, like having fake plans. I'm joking.
The shots fired. What do you do in that situation? What do you
do?
No,
I'm joking.
What do you do in a situation where you love green, but you don't have enough sun? What do you do?
I'm joking.
I think that's a lot of people though in this world. They love green, but they don't have enough sun.
No, it's okay. It's beautiful. I was top. I know that I won't, but it's
no.
Okay.
I like it. I like that you're legit.
Just like
you're a woman of principles.
It's just like what I would like to have around me, like friends that call me out on my BS. They're not like, if I'm smoking a lot of weed and I stop recording my podcast, I want you to say, hey, Liza, what's going on? I don't want you to let me in my BS,
totally.
Right? And I want to be that friend for people too. But at the same time, like I have people who really appreciate who I am. And I have some friends that are not my friends anymore because they cannot, like my sister, she cannot take the truth. And I'm the kind of person who brings the truth. And she's like, oh, being around you, it's like having a psychedelic experience. and she says that once I leave, it's really good.
I know you take pride in that.
Yeah,
I know deep down you're like, hell yeah.
But yeah, it's the archetype that I'm playing, and I pay a price to be playing this archetype. And I feel like energetically, it's not good for my nervous system because I'm always like ready for attack.
Well, it's clearly working because you have built an amazing following.
It brought me to where I'm at in life. That's what I say, that I'm not willing to let go because it brought me to where I'm at. And I feel like it's like a scaffolding. Once you reach that level, you can just get rid of the scaffolding in a building when you are reforming a building, right? You have the scaffolding so you can do like the repairs and everything. But once you get there, you can throw it away. And at some point, I know that once I reach that level, I can just get rid of that and play another archetype and be another person. But right now it's serving me well. So
But it's interesting because of this philosophy that you've built. You have been able to build this amazing YouTube channel. You put out videos so consistently. You're a product of the product. You practice what you preach. And like you said, you put out some pretty controversial stuff in American society, if you would. But because of that, you have been able to grow these amazing communities. You've been able to really be this completely just rebellious person. But it's interesting because you play the rebel, but really you're like the most sweetest, kindest person ever.
I know.
So I feel that you truly are acting.
My armor's thick, but my heart's soft. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's been serving me. Like if I was thinking, because I've been studying a lot of marketing right now in my life, and I see that I'm trying to develop authority for my public, and I don't talk about my background, like where I grew up, like my place in Brazil where my mom lives now. It's very close to slums. It's all like surrounded by slums, so it's like the countryside of Brazil, and it's full of slums. The mindset of the people are very like so. When I got the scholarship to study architecture, my mom, I was 17 years old, and I didn't have enough money. It was like my family was very poor. Like they would cut electricity, they would cut like water. So like that's how I grew up. Like my parents didn't have money. And when I got the scholarship to study architecture, my mom told me, I'm not gonna sign this paper because you're poor and you are gonna study in our city. You are not gonna go to São Paulo, like the downtown São Paulo. You're gonna be here. And then my sister had to go and sign for me because I was a minor, right? And like my whole upbringing, like if I didn't have this fighter, the warrior within me, I would still be there and I would be married. Maybe I would be dead because I left Brazil because of like this very abusive relationship that mirrored my relationship, well, my parents' relationship. So if I didn't have this within me, I would have died already. And or I would be alive, right? The body is like Bukowski has a quote that he says, the body is alive, but like the person inside is just that. Like there is no, it's empty, right? The house, there is a house, but the house is empty.
Yeah,
and
you have a pretty amazing origin story. You know, all this cards stacked
like
against you.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, coming from the slums. It's amazing.
Yes,
it's truly amazing.
yeah.
And you appreciate stuff a lot.
Yeah.
You appreciate stuff a lot. I appreciate when you make a Brazilian hot dog. It's phenomenal. This guy's gonna
And
have
just
to try
this
it.
place, right? This is fucking paradise. What
It is
this?
paradise.
Yeah.
It really is paradise. It's like first of all, there's so many beautiful places in the U.S.
Yeah.
We are in America.
But we're in the
right now.
best place.
But Miami is just unbelievable.
Yes.
Florida, generally speaking, but Miami, because of the culture, it just makes it way even better. I just love going outside and seeing lizards.
I know, right?
I love lizards. Like squirrels are the best you get.
Yes,
You know, in like the Northeast, some fire squirrels, maybe some great owls, a little eagle action. But lizards here are great.
I know, they're so little.
They come in so many different shapes and sizes.
That is so funny that you are telling me
and
that.
they're so chill. They just kind of like.
They are.
They're just.
It's tropical. It's tropical. We are in their environment.
And
it's
then
not
when
like they're
you've
here.
seen those green parrots. They have the green parrots here.
Oh my god, it's paradise, Ian. It is fucking paradise.
They had those
like
when I was living in Colombia, and I just love the jungle vibe. The one thing I hate about this place, though, there's only one thing. You know what it is?
The mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. Oh my god!
But we get beaten.
Look at the
We
Brazilian hot
offer
dog.
ourselves for them because the place is so. Oh yes.
Okay. Did it just
my
get hot?
So
in
tell me
here?
the ingredients to this Brazilian hot dog. What am I
Okay,
looking
so
at?
I eat hot dogs here, and then like I buy a hot dog, and then
It's definitely not healthy.
it
I'm
comes
just
with
gonna
a
throw that out.
sausage and just the bread and the sauce. There's not even mayo, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, how am I supposed to eat that? Like, what is this? And then look at our hot dog. Like, they're
Okay,
potatoes.
Slow down for a sec. What are the ingredients in a Brazilian hot dog?
So there's like the tomato sauce that I made from scratch, like just onions and tomatoes and some salt, and it gets caramelized. So, okay.
Love that.
And then there is like mashed potatoes that we put.
Mashed potato.
Yeah,
the
mashed
yuca.
potato.
Wasn't it yuca?
No, it was
it's
mashed
just-
potato. And there are also those potatoes that are like those very skinny potatoes, like fried.
Okay.
Like,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah. And then the tomato sauce, and we also put corn, and the corn in Brazil tastes differently than here.
Way
and
better.
then and then the
You think the
peas.
corn's better in Brazil?
Yeah. Well, here's very sweet. But then we'd put mayo, and then the hot dog, and the whole like this sauce, and the mashed potato, and ketchup, and there are so many ingredients. And then I eat hot dogs here, and I was so sad. Like,
I think what
is
made
this?
it extra special was that you made it.
Yeah, it's true. I love cooking. Yeah, it's my love
Cooking is
language.
amazing. I feel that as a human being, you just are at such a disadvantage if you just aren't into the idea of cooking.
I know. Yeah, yeah. For me, it's like it's a meditation. Like I put some music or a podcast and I do it very slowly. Like I don't understand people that cook very fast because it's something that everything can be an art, right? It's something that we put in our body. So it's not like if you make it with love, your body's gonna accept it differently.
Well, the counter argument is that a lot of people just don't have the time, right? They're like,
yeah,
running
but
around doing this,
I
and
don't
this.
like people that I don't have the time. It's like it's not your priority, right?
Yeah, like make
There's
it
no
your
like
priority.
yeah. It's
Do you
not
meal
like-
prep?
No, but I cook twice per week and yeah, I have that.
I fell for the lie recently that it's more expensive in terms of my time. Actually, it's not a lie, but there's a sizable argument that at some point you reach a level in your life where that the time it takes to cook a meal and the time it takes to go grocery shopping, buy it, cook it versus just like ordering on Uber Eats is actually like dollar to hour time doesn't make sense, or it makes sense to actually eat out if possible.
Yeah,
So
but
I ate that argument for a while, no pun intended. And
no.
I stopped that because I was spending
But
so
also,
much money.
no, not only that, not only the money, but like they put a lot of butter to make things yummy, right? And just everything they put canola oil. You don't know how they're cooking. Who is the person? It's like ayahuasca. You can buy ayahuasca on the internet and drink the ayahuasca, but who made that ayahuasca? Like, what was the intention? It takes like 2 or 3 days to just prepare and like be mixing. And I was part of the ayahuasca church, and I drank one tea that was made by the teenagers and
Wait,
the kids.
what's the ayahuasca church? Is it
Ayahuasca
like there's a
church?
church of Scientology, there's a church of ayahuasca?
It's called União do Vegetal. It's a church like they have two churches that were two or more actually in Brazil that were founded, but they are all over the world. União do Vegetal.
Ayahuasca church.
Yeah, and then well, they do it here legally, right? They have the license and everything. And one of the teas that I drank once, it was made by the teenagers from the church and the kids. And that was such a special tea. And I'm like, yeah, because it's pure. Kids made that, like the teenagers, and they're just like fresh out of the source, right? Their energy is into that. So you think about the food that we eat, depending on your mood in the food, like how the person made, like, and you see the whole environment. If you go to a restaurant, all those people running to make the food, like whatever, like they don't think about
So
fast food,
so you're
right?
saying basically like when you make your own food, you're almost like baking in
Yes, it's
deep-
your energy.
deep
Yes.
energy into that food as you
Yeah,
prepare it.
and like who made that food? I got in the habit now of like just putting my hand over the food and like honoring the animal who died or whatever, you know.
That's
and
cool.
the people who made the food too. But the way the whole environment, if you like, it's fast food, right? Everyone's doing super fast. There's no intention, and drinking that tea that the children made and was so pure, I felt so good. And I'm like, what is with this tea? And like, oh, it was made in Hawaii by the teenagers and the
I
kids.
wonder if the home cooked meal tastes even better for that reason.
For sure.
You know how you
For
just
sure.
love like meals from your parents growing up? It's the
For
best.
sure.
The smell of the home.
Yeah, I lived with a nun for 2.5 years. And
Tell me about that. How did that go?
I know, right? My life's crazy. But I lived with her for 2.5 years, and she used to work and cook for the temple, for the monks and nuns. And she would call her food, I would call her food blessed food. And she would put a lot of love, right, into the food. And it was amazing. Everything she made was amazing. A tea, anything. It was just really good because she set the intention, right? And I feel like as we evolve as humans, that's what we're going towards, right?
So she
More
set
love.
an intention. So she's like,
Not even intention.
can you explain the process of setting the intention?
Well, when I'm making, I'm present. While if I'm unconscious and I'm focusing on quantity instead of
So you're
quality.
not multitasking. You're not like listening to a podcast while doing.
I am, but like I'm making the food
Multi-present.
and it's my energy, right? It's not a person running in a restaurant making like being productive and
Gotcha.
making millions of
But there is an
dishes and-
argument that sometimes food tastes better when you didn't make it.
Yeah, but then
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is that?
But it
Like when Chef Michael Ross cooks a meal, I'm stoked.
yes.
Oh my
But
gosh.
also look at his energy, right? He's a Leo fire, very bright person. He's amazing. Yeah. You can see by his posture. It's just like whatever comes out of him, he's just a bright person. Right?
Something I love about
and
you
he puts
is that
into the food.
something I love about you is you believe so wholeheartedly in the cards and the horoscopes, the signs.
God, the
Like
divine.
on a
Yeah.
whole nother level. And yeah, I loved asking you about it and talking about it because naturally I'm skeptical. Not skeptical, but skeptical. Yeah, 100%. But I love believing that I want to believe in it the way you do. Because I see how it makes you feel. I see how excited you get. And you basically sell me and you sell all of your followers on these different ideologies. And that's what you are. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
You're a teacher bringing these very interesting type of philosophies and learnings into people's lives.
It's not, for me, it's not an ideology. What I do and what I tell my followers, I don't like to use this word, my allies. I say that I don't want followers, I want allies, because the word needs people, right? Evolving. What I do is help people to, because what most of the people are doing nowadays, if you read a book, people are not helping you think for yourself. They are just giving you their ideas and implanting their ideas in your mind. So what I do is the unlearning process. How do you unlearn the teachings of the church, of society, of the structure of your family, of the government? Like, how do you unlearn all of that to find your essence? And you only find your essence when you learn to think for yourself and question everything. And so my work is in the process of unlearning and remembering, right? Going back to ancestral wisdom, which is like we're more connected to ourselves, we're more connected to earth. And if you look, the external world is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. And then, like, we blame the government, but we are the government. We're the people. We tend to blame, and when we blame things, we take our power away. Everything we blame, our power is in the thing that we're blaming. So if I live a life blaming the government or the economy and the people around me and the family and everything is like blaming everyone. How am I going to live my life? How am I going to take self-responsibility? So I need to, because everything is a systemic problem, if you really think.
Well, it goes back to the whole philosophy of victim mentality. When you truly believe that you can't change your situation, you feel like you're in a position where you can't change it. But it's just one of the worst mindsets to have, because even if you truly are not, you can still choose how you see the situation. Like if you're in prison, right?
Yeah.
That would suck. And I'm sure that's not the play. Like I'd probably avoid that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a way of doing that in a better way than the other way. Like there's a way of approaching life and approaching your situation in a good vibe.
I have a story about prison. I wanted to finish what I was saying, but I have this story about prison, and I'm going to answer the question about the last time that I came here. Last year, I was not much into the divine and God and like the light and everything. And then I started the meditation practice. I did from a woman that I follow, Blue of Earth, and she was teaching this 40 days meditation practice. She called devotion practice, but it's not a devotion to something outside of you, a scent or whatever. It's a devotion to the self. Like how do you devote it, like create discipline to be there with yourself. And I did those 40 days, and what I saw is that we have the commitment to people around us. If I tell you, oh, Ian, I'm going to be there at 5:30. I was here at 5:30, and I have this commitment to you. But then when I tell myself, oh, every day I'm going to meditate, and then I don't meditate, and I'm like, how is my commitment with myself? So in those 40 days, I developed this new relationship with myself, to be there for myself. And of course, that wasn't
a habit.
Yeah, it became a habit. And the main thing that I got, it was like every time that I sat there with myself, I would find the divinity within me. And they can call it God or the universe, but the like source.
And what's
right?
that practice? Like what's
it was
your
meditation
practice
like 22 meditation in silence, 22 minutes of meditation in silence.
So you just sit there by yourself.
Yeah, the whole practice is like 45 minutes, but 22 minutes is me sitting in silent meditation. I do the do nothing technique, which is just do nothing. We're human beings, not human doing. So, and we're doing all the time. So just sitting and not trying to do anything, not even controlling the breath, just sitting there, just relaxing. Just like, this is a time that I fully relax. And I feel like it made my life, before I was living externally, and then after I started doing this practice and sitting with myself, I started living from the inside out. So everything changed my life. And then I would do meditation, and I would take the oracle cards, and I had never done that before. I would meditate sometimes, but I never had like this practice and consistency. And then I would get an oracle card, and I would call my spirit guides, my ancestors, God or Ganesha or Yogananda or whatever consciousness, like the consciousness of Jesus, and I would call those those people to be there with me. And then in the day 40, right? I am Ganesha. And the day 40, I'm sitting meditating and I have my eyes closed. And then suddenly I feel that I'm not alone in my room. So it was like the whole gang that I've been calling in those 40 days. It was like they were present with me. And it's like you close your eyes and you feel like there are like 10 people around you. And then I would just start crying. And I feel like it unlocked this God power within me.
You're like totally sober doing it?
And yeah, sober. Just having the consistency every day to sit with myself.
And it didn't start happening until like day 12?
Well, I was connecting with myself, of course, but there were days that I didn't want to do. But I was like, no, you promised this to yourself, and it's devotion to the self. And that's how we find God within, right? What is self-realization? Is finding God within ourselves. And it's going from, and then the story of prison, right? Going back to this guy, I was listening to this podcast, and this guy, he had been in prison. Nowadays, he's a motivational speaker, and he works with a lot of people. No.
Just
no,
kidding.
I forgot. It's what's his name? Garin, something Garin. I'll get his name later. But he went to prison, right? And in prison, he didn't have anything to do, so he just started meditating. You are looking for him, Garin. It's Garrain. Garin. Jones.
Garen Jones?
No. It's another guy.
Garen Jones?
Is that him?
I'm sorry, don't let me.
But anyway.
No,
yeah.
it might be. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So he went to prison, right? Do you know him?
That guy's got the vibe.
Okay, do you know him?
No, I don't.
Okay, his story. So he's been interviewing. I don't know much about his work because I've never taken like his workshops or anything. But Blue was interviewing him, and he just has this very bright light in him, right? And he said that in prison, when he was in prison, he didn't have anything to do, so he just started meditating, right? He started meditating and reading books about spirituality, and he sings. So he would sing in prison, and I don't know if he has a religious upbringing, but he started kind of preaching the word of the Lord in the prison, right? And whenever he would sing, people would be very happy. And then he would sing once per week. And then every day people would be like, can you sing? Can you sing? And he just started transforming the environment in prison because of bringing this light, right? And then he became friends of the guards and everyone there. And he just brought a lot of light inside prison. And we know that prison is a place of darkness, right? A lot of people are there because they have a shitty relationship with themselves. And then at some point, someone calls him and say that, and he went to prison because he got caught with drugs. And then someone calls him and says like, oh, you are released. We did another test with the drugs. Out of sudden, someone calls him and say, hey, we retested the drugs and we found that the drugs are fake. Like 80% of the drugs are fake. So you already did your time. I don't know how many years, like 2 or 3 years that he stayed in prison. And they released him. And he was like, why did this happen? And what I understand, and he spoke about that too, is that if you are in a place that like you are cultivating light within yourself, and that light that he created was so big that it wouldn't fit prison. He was too like trapped in a place, so that light needed to go out in the world, and he left prison. It was not a coincidence. The person just called him. It's like, hey, you're released. And I see this happening in my life, like when I did this challenge and I started cultivating the light within myself, and I started seeing the light in people, and then I created a woman's group, and my life just open, and suddenly I'm just talking about the divine. And I wasn't like that before. Even though I had the religious upbringing, my relationship with God, it was totally different. And I was an atheist at some point, and then now I feel like I got a new guidance in my life, because before I would be so scared of taking risk and trying things or coming to Miami, because I would be like, what if it's the wrong decision? But now I know that I'm being guided, that what I do, like the divine is working through me. And the altar, just sitting in front of my altar, is like charging this tunnel of light that I'm just receiving light from the source and it's coming to me and it's going outside
and
of
to
me
be
and the people
clarified,
around
when you
me.
say your altar, I think a lot of people are going to think about some real crazy shit. But that's not, it's not like that. Like your altar is really like, I've seen it. It's like a glorified desk with a lot of beautiful symbols that make you feel good. And
oracles, like sacred objects. People are like, what do I put in my altar? Whatever you think it's sacred, whatever means a lot to you. And
yeah, having an altar is pretty fire.
Yeah,
this
I
is
love
my altar.
I know. I love my altar. And I had never had that before. So
one thing I think we should do. And
an
for
altar
everyone,
for you. An altar.
the great thing about you is you freaking go. You flow. You go right through. You let the energy, like I'm about to go on a tangent, so I'm going to go back. But I want to start about, so you moved to San Francisco. You're super clean. You've never done any drugs.
No.
You used to dislike people that did it because you had this preconceived notion.
Yeah.
And now you teach the world about all sorts of drugs.
Yes.
Now tell me, what was that first experience like? How did you get involved? And walk us through that thought process.
It was an ex-boyfriend that he would do psychedelics, and I trusted him, and he's like, oh, today we're going to do MDMA. And I'm like, okay. And I did that. That's how, my heart was broken and wide open. Like, I talk a lot, I talk a lot, right? So I tried MDMA for the first time. It was me, a friend, and this ex-boyfriend, and he gave me MDMA, and then I took that, and then suddenly it was like my heart was inside that little metal box, and it couldn't expand any further because it was inside that box, like all the beliefs, everything I had, like trauma or whatever. And then I take that pill, and suddenly my heart expands, and I just love everyone, and I love my life, and I love the world, and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't know that as a human being I had that capacity for love, and I couldn't stop thinking about aliens and all the beliefs that I had in my life. Like if that was a drug that people always said that it's wrong and you shouldn't touch it, and that was providing me that state of bliss and unconditional love, I started questioning everything, and I was just quiet. I was mute for like 2 hours. I couldn't even talk, just like feeling love.
So you're
and
just
I'm
like, this is so, it's almost like let's dumb it down. You've eaten potato chips your whole life, and then all of a sudden you just ate a burger.
Yeah.
And you're like, this has existed?
Exactly.
What else is alive?
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, just broke my heart wide open. And I have an addictive personality. I'm a Pisces. As a good Pisces that I am, if I start eating something, or if I start like practicing like slackline, I just go psycho. Like, I need to do that every day. Like the ice bath, it's like Sky with the ice bath. Like I'm just going to go many times per day. He gets it. So I have an addictive personality. And what I did, like for me, that was drugs. So I took a drug, and it made me feel good. So I'm like, okay, I need to be very careful with that. So I started reading a lot of books. I started like reading all books of psychedelics and listening to podcasts. I just dove in the psychedelic world,
learning
and
all you
to
can
protect
about
myself from myself, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to understand what I'm taking. And then I started studying, and the more I studied, the more I fell in love with it. And I started experimenting with like mushrooms and LSD, and just unlocking and finding my traumas. Like when it's my tattoo, like I got this huge tattoo on the side of my body. It was my first tattoo. And then in one LSD trip, I'm in front of the mirror, and I look in the mirror and I see that tattoo, and that hurt. I got it in one day. It was 8 hours, and it was my first tattoo. And I'm like, why did I do that to my body? Because it is a trauma, right? Yeah. And then the LSD shows me that because I've been abused in the past, because I ran away from Brazil because I was abused sexually by my ex-boyfriend. So I just ran away. And I never fully understood what was going on. Right? And then I got this huge tattoo, and then the LSD showed me that I got the tattoo to label my body, like to take my body back from the abuse. And for that, I needed to do this huge tattoo in my body to say like, this body is mine. So like, take my body back. And I would never know that I got that huge tattoo to overcome an abuse that I went through. And then I started
so like when you got the tattoo, because it's a snake.
No, not this one. This one on the side that is huge. And then I understood why I got the tattoo. And then I started understanding more and more about myself. And it's like peeling the onion, right? Wow, like this abuse, or I was neglected, and like just peeling the onions, and my heart started opening, and I'm like, wow, there's something here to be investigated. And I started studying and working with psychedelics, and my life just like I can't imagine. Like the person that I was before I started doing psychedelics, I didn't know who I was because I lived for society and for my parents, and I didn't really know who I was. And psychedelics showed me, like I always say that psychedelics show who we are. Right. They have the capacity to give us more authenticity.
So you used yourself as a kind of a research project.
Yeah.
And
that's what we do in life. We all do that, right?
And you use these drugs as vehicles to unlock new avenues.
Yeah.
At what point is it bad to do these types of drugs?
Well, that's something, right? So to live life, we cannot be like a lot of people, because psychedelics bring chaos. Think about like New York, Sao Paulo, and San Francisco, all those places where a lot of different people gather. Like Miami is one of the capitalist poles, right? All those places are where there is raw energy, creative energies, where new ideas are born. Like the Silicon Valley with psychedelics, like all those places, they are very chaotic. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different ideas, and that's where stuff grows, right? And ideas are born. And psychedelics bring this chaotic energy of like messing up the whole thing. And it's good sometimes when we're stagnant in life. But if you keep bringing chaos, you are not having compassion with yourself and giving yourself time. I say that like psychedelics is like it's like you had this little lamp in your room your whole life, and then suddenly psychedelics bring those laser beams of light, and you can see the mess, but before you didn't see because you didn't have enough light to see. And psychedelics bring the light, and they light the shadow, right? All the dark stuff that you didn't see before.
So the dark stuff is the thing you gotta be careful. So like when you
with
do
the
a
light
psychedelic,
comes the shadow,
you're
right?
opening up a can of both.
Yes,
You're opening up a can of understanding,
exactly.
but you're also opening up a can of deep trauma, upsetness, and you can easily be overcome by that.
Yeah. So you keep bringing chaos, and I mentor people when they're like, and I see that they're in the middle of the tornado. There's a lot of chaos, whatever from psychedelics, and they're like, I'm gonna take mushrooms. I'm like, hey, listen. Because we need to have compassion with yourself. There's something called ego backlash, which is like a rubber. If you pull it, eventually you're going to lose it and it's going to hit you right back. So even though intellectually we think that we can handle, emotionally and like in the level of the body, we need to have compassion with your own process. And you cannot just keep bringing chaos. And that's how people get lost in psychedelics. And even in life, when people start doing several things and then they travel and then they start in a relationship and then they jump into the other relationship, it's a lot of chaos. So we need
stability.
It's the same thing with conservatism, liberal, like, you need to pick one. No, you need to have both. If you keep changing your mind all the time, like liberals, like they're open to everything. If you don't have a safe foundation, which is the conservative that provides that stability of never changing, of like things need to be stable, you cannot build anything on top if it doesn't have a strong foundation.
So you felt like that actually, like you started doing these drugs, right? You started experimenting with them.
Yeah.
Did you have a moment where you're like, wait, I'm doing too much, I need to slow down?
I've always been very careful, always.
Because I've actually, maybe it's because you're just doing it and we're not hanging out as much as I think we are, but like, I don't feel like you do much. You don't do a lot.
Right? Even cannabis, I've never smoked cannabis every day. Like for me, it's a medicine and I respect the medicine. There's like a spirit behind that medicine, and I'm not going to be visiting because we do psychedelics to make our sober life better. So if you're doing psychedelics to have fun, you're doing to escape. So you're not really appreciating this is real reality right here in front of us, sober. So if you're doing a lot of psychedelics, and people think that because I have a channel, because I talk about psychedelics, I'm passionate about them, I do them all the time. And people are like, how long should I wait? And like, first of all, have compassion with yourself, because if you keep bringing chaos, imagine that in this house, you keep bringing the light and you see the darkness, it's like you're moving into a new house, right? And you keep bringing the boxes of stuff and you don't even open those boxes, and then you bring more boxes, and at some point you need to clean the house and organize.
So when you do psychedelics, it's gonna basically just throw a shit ton of boxes into your house, and then you need time to reflect, and start unpacking and organize.
Exactly. And then the house needs to be organized. And that's our sober life, how organize our things. Because if you have if you have the dishes to do, right? And then you're going to keep bringing stuff. No, you need to organize the things to be able to receive more. You need to know yourself and know your capacity.
I feel that on a deep level with the dishes. You know, when I grew up, I was like, I never helped around the house. I never liked doing the dishes, the laundry. I never really cleaned up after myself. I think it's because I just didn't have ownership. It wasn't my house. It was my parents' house. I was just living in it, and I didn't understand the world. But you see the house. Like now everything has to be like so clean, no dishes. It's got to be money. Because I feel like my home is a reflection of my mind, which is a reflection of me.
Yeah.
And then when people come here for the podcast and friends, like I want them to see my house and my abode and the way that they see my mind, right? Which is like I take pride in it. I take like pride in the things I do. So I do think that the Marie Kondo, having a clean environment, is so vital for someone's self-worth at some level.
Yeah, for sure. It's like how organized, because life is not going to give you more if you're not being able to handle what you have currently. It's just not going to come. Like, oh, you want to have this amazing life, and like, how are you taking care of what you have right now? If you're not taking care, God's gonna be like, okay, I can't send more, because.
But I can also imagine, imagine you're a mother and you got 3 kids running around. Like, it would be impossible to have.
Yeah,
this
for
type
sure. But it's priorities, right? You need to have a clean mind to be able to receive more. And if you keep bringing chaos, you're gonna get lost in the psychedelic world and other realities. And we can see how people are disconnected. A lot of people that have messy places, they're just disconnected.
Well, that's the fear with drugs, right? There's the fear that if I do LSD, I'm going to be that 1 in 10,000 that goes psycho and goes loony.
Yeah. And I wrote in my journey when I started experimenting with psychedelics that one of my biggest fears was to lose my mind. And then looking back now, I did lose my mind many times, but it was like I let go of old identities, because we're always changing. It's like changing the skin, right? The skin, the snake that doesn't change his skin dies. So like we're always peeling. Like Rumi has a quote that says, "Be melting snow, wash yourself of yourself."
Is that the origin of why you love snakes?
Yeah. It's my spirit animal. Yeah.
Because you're growing out of your skin. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. We need to peel, because if the snake doesn't change its skin, it dies. Yeah, so it's our capacity of letting the old go and embracing the new and jumping into the unknown.
So you felt like you actually lost your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, I'm a crazy person.
Like the person that I was before is gone, totally gone. And I did lose my mind, but we're not the mind.
But you didn't lose your mind. Like you weren't like running around the street naked, like yelling crazy shit. Like that's what people think about when they lose them. But you know what I mean? Like
what I see now, that first of all, like the way I think, like I can talk about all sorts of things and I can go deep and like if someone start telling me about aliens, and I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna, like, for me, the more perspectives, the better.
But you also find it fun.
Yes, but that's another thing. I always say that to experiment with psychedelics, you need to have an anchor of who you are. You need to know who you are, because it's like you leave the anchor there and then you go back to that anchor after you're done. So if you don't have a good life and you start experimenting with psychedelics, suddenly the other world is better and you don't have an anchor to go back to.
So you're saying people that don't have a good foundation in their current life are not fit to do drugs.
If they don't know who they are going to get lost. And that's the
so then the question asks is, how do you know if you have a good anchor? Is there like a training
like
or
when
tutorial?
People are like, I don't want to try because I'm so afraid. I'm like, afraid of what? Like, don't you know yourself? Don't you have anything to go back to? Didn't you build yourself in all those years? Because if you have nothing, if you don't have authenticity, if you don't know who you are deep inside, and we only know who we are by going within, meditating. Right?
Meditating, that's the answer. So you start with meditating. You have to basically be able to do 40 days of meditation before you should experiment with drugs.
For me, I feel like this meditation practice is the foundation of my work, like, because I help people to unlearn, right? And suddenly people are like, oh, everything that they told me in the church is wrong, and now I don't have any base. But like, yeah, but you are not at that identity or something else. So you need to close your eyes and find out who you are first before you start erasing all this stuff. Because otherwise, if you suddenly you are not that religion, you are not that identity, you are not what your family thought that you were, and suddenly you say, you are not any of those things. Like, oh, I'm nothing. No, you are something. But to find out who you are, you need to go within yourself. And people need to know who they are. It's so basic. It's very know thyself, right? Know thyself. If you don't know who you are, you're going to experiment. It's not even psychedelics. It's not the drugs. You're going to get lost in whatever you find in your life. In a relationship, people, party,
Right.
drugs, whatever, if you don't know who you are, if you don't have anything to go back to. So it's important that when you are exploring other realities, that you have your good reality to go back to.
Well, you are in El Portal, Club Portal right
Let's
now.
let's
This
go.
is the name of the crib.
Let's go.
Let's
First
go.
thing we did when we moved in is put all lights everywhere.
We're missing a psychedelic trip. I know you are running away from it, but we're ready.
I do
We're
run away
ready.
from it.
You know who you are. You can go. You can go deep.
Who
I've
are
only
you,
done
Ian? Who
acid
are you?
once, and I did it completely wrong. I was extremely hungover, which is one thing you're not supposed to do.
No.
And then I smoked a giant joint because I didn't think it was working. And then it hit at the same
hit you
time, and I
very
was like,
fast.
"This is not the play, man. I'm not feeling this. Let me just go back." But I do believe that there is a lot to be said about it.
And also, like, start small. You don't need to dive in. Like, do a microdose.
Well, I like the microdose.
Tiptoe in
I
the waters.
microdose mushrooms. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying that.
So yeah, start hiring the dose.
Well, it's interesting
little by
because
little.
you think about like alcohol. If I drink, let's just say 3 like solid drinks of tequila, aka tequila, versus like taking a microdose of mushrooms, like I have a way less of a hangover, right? But I wonder what the dosages are at, because I know some people that microdose mushrooms every
well,
day.
for every person's gonna be different, right? There is a sweet spot for every person, and it's gonna be different. The same way that our appearance externally we're different, internally everything is different too.
It's
Every
cool that
person
mushrooms
has
are
a-
becoming so mainstream too.
I know, but yeah, start small. Like, you don't start when you start swimming. You don't jump in the ocean and you just go,
Unless
right?
it's an ice bath with Sky, because he'll throw you right on in.
Get cold, baby. Get cold.
But you go in where you feel your feet touching the ground. You go in a lake or in a pool.
Do you
like,
suggest
where to
doing it
learn.
by yourself or with a group?
It depends on the intention. If you want to do recreationally, you can do with people. But if you want to do for personal development, then go with yourself, right? You can have a few people around you, but mostly,
What if you do it by yourself and you're starting to like not be chill?
well, it happens.
Is it-
And then people are like, but I didn't have a good experience. And I'm like, well, if you are using psychedelics for personal development, it's going to show your shadow. It's the Pandora box. Everything's going to come out. So don't expect to be laughing and be all like rainbows and butterflies, because it's not. Like for me, I take it for that. Like my last mushroom trip, I was in fetal position for 3 hours. But I knew that was what I was doing. I was going into that, knowing that, yeah, I'm going to face my shadow, because that's how I use them. I don't expect to be happy. So it depends
Interesting.
on your intention.
By the end of that trip, are you rolling out with shadow on your shoulder, shadow's bloodied up, and you're just like, I'm a champion?
I didn't even cry actually in this last trip. I thought that it was. I found a lot of memories that I had dissociated in my childhood that I remembered. It brought up, the mushroom showed me, and just looking at that and seeing how it affects my life nowadays, like, that's why I do this, that's why I do that. So I start understanding things. I didn't cry, but I knew that my intention was to face my shadow. And you can just take it and be with friends and dance and sing. You can do whatever. But also, like, I
so
feel
setting
like
your intention is everything.
yes.
So what is the intention? The intention is I'm going to go to a music festival. The intention is I'm going to go to the beach. The intention is I'm going to go deep within and kill my shadow. Or meet them.
Yeah.
Have a date with them.
Yes.
Get to know 'em.
Dance with our demons.
Dance with our demons.
Yes. Well, but also there is, like, I'm a Pisces. I'm very affected by people around me. So if I go to a music festival, and I need to know my limits. If it's my first time doing psychedelics and I'm around a lot of people, and I'm already a person who gets affected by people normally. So on psychedelics, I am going to be affected by the energy of the people around me, because we are so connected to our surroundings. We're so connected we are nature. It's not like nature is outside. We are nature. And we're connected to everything, everyone around us. We're like an organism, right? And we're connected to people. So when you do psychedelics around other people, their energy is going to affect you.
Yeah, I
There's
don't
no
know.
way that is not
I've
gonna
never been
affect.
huge on festivals generally. Like
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, I
Like
don't
when
think
it's like I'm
a-
going to go to Burning Man, I'm like, oh, that sounds so sick. But I guess I never really had the amazing experience, because I just think about like having to pee and there's like 12 bucket loads of humans behind me that I got to rip through. Like if I'm going to do a festival, I need to be in a situation where I can pee.
Yeah. Well, but you need to choose the set and setting. which are the place that you are doing, the people that are around you, your mindset at the day, right? If you have your whole house is a mess and you're doing psychedelics, like, yeah, you're going to have a really difficult trip. But it's also the intention that you go into, right? If you're taking to have fun and just dance, and you can do that. I don't
So there are a
disagree
lot of
with the
coaches.
recreational use.
What about the world of, because a lot of people that are in this world, they have programs. Like most people, they teach stuff. How much of it is like, at what point do you become a spiritual gangster? Or at what point are you just kind of like a fraud?
So yeah, that's going back to system thinking. Everything that we go through, it's our body is a system, right? Nature is a system, an ecological system. Society is a system. Our family is a system. Everything is a system. Religion is everything is a system, and we're a product of this system, and we are inside the system. So my teachings are to help people to unlearn those systems. For example, people are like, oh, I have depression, and I'm like, no, it's not that you have depression. You are inside a system that doesn't support you. It doesn't support your body. It doesn't support your mental health. It's not that you have. Makes a lot of
sense. It's like a lot of people are working a job that they hate.
Yeah,
why are they developing
like,
anger?
Oh, I have depression. Like, no. You are living in a society that doesn't support you. Your family system doesn't support you because they also didn't receive support. And like, depression is a systemic problem, and we blame the individual. Oh, he has depression. He cannot function. Give him a pill. Like, he doesn't know how to behave. No, it's not that he has depression. Depression is a systemic problem. We are, as a society, humanity, we've never had so much depression and anxiety. And then they put all the labels. Depression, anxiety, you have OCD, ADD, like all the labels possible. Those are systemic problems. It's not that you're an alien and you have all those issues and you're lonely. No, it's a systemic problem. So we need to look at it in a systemic way. We cannot just take the individual, oh, he's problematic, and then you start fighting with someone and like, oh, he votes for Trump. No, it's a political system. So the problem is not the politics. It's the whole system. It's the political system.
Yeah, well, we're not supposed to ingest my relationship with my phone.
Yeah, but that's a good point. And then, yes, I went to a woman's circle 2 days ago, and I forgot I had a phone. I love being around friends that make me forget I have a phone. And I have a huge problem with my phone usage. Like, I would rather walk naked than show someone the time that I spend my screen time.
Naked, so that's a
yeah,
terrible
I
example.
I know that I work, but still, I'm addicted to my phone.
Right.
And I bring it to the light because I am addicted to my phone, okay? When I leave my home without my phone, it's like I left a child unattended.
I agree.
I'm like, oh my God, my phone. Like, it's like it's
You're
missing
like,
something.
What's going?
And then I was in this circle, and I didn't touch my phone for 5 hours. And like, oh, where's my phone? I forgot I have a phone.
And it's so much better when you don't touch your phone
And
in 5
then
hours.
I saw that I lack compassion with myself, because it's not that I'm addicted to my phone. All addictions come from a lack of connection. And we are in a society where everyone is suffering within themselves and they don't voice it out. I have depression, I have this. They hide that they hide their feelings. And I know that I hide my feelings and I pretend that everything is okay. But inside, sometimes I suffer a lot. And then I go to my phone to connect, because it is a sense of connection that I have with all my followers, my YouTube channel, and everyone commenting, my group of women. And and then I saw like 2 days ago that I can have more compassion with myself, but because it's not that I'm addicted, and it's not that I'm addicted to my phone. It's because I lack connection with the people around me in my life. And if I'm put in the right environment, it's like that study that they did with the 2 rats. They put 1 rat inside this little cage that there was nothing there. There was only this tube with cocaine, right? And then there was nothing. There wasn't another rat. There were not toys. There wasn't food. There wasn't anything. There was just 2 waters, 1 normal water and 1 with cocaine. And then there was this other cage where the rat had other rats there. He could have sex. He could have food, and he would play in the wheel and have fun. And they put also the water, 1 normal water and 1 with cocaine. This one that had all the environment with the other rats and the toys, he would go way less. He would go to the cocaine sometimes just to have fun, but he would drink normal water most of the time. And then we see ourselves in a cage of people not working, not aligned with their work, not having the right people around, not having the right food, not having the right anything. Yeah, for sure you are going to go to cocaine, which is my phone in case, you know?
It is true, because when I'm around peeps, I definitely, when I'm on my phone, I'm embarrassed to be on my phone when I'm in front of people.
Yeah.
It's like a true sign of.
But it is a systemic problem, and I tell my friends, like, I'm so addicted to my phone. Oh, Liza, you should track your time. And in my mind, I'm like, you're as addicted as I am. But you're not honest about it. But
the issue about it is that, like, if you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to build a business.
It's socially acceptable.
You have to reply to people. You have to respond to messages. You have to grow your brand. And part of it, you call it productive, but it's not productive.
And
most
also,
of the time it's not productive.
It's just so merged with like work and what is just like this.
So what are some of the hacks that you've used to be able to avoid too much screen time?
I have an app called Freedom that just logs like 9 p.m. No more Instagram, no more social media. If I want to,
can't you just like unlock it?
I can delete the app, but unlock it I cannot.
Oh, you have to delete the app.
But I'm in a point where I delete the app sometimes, and I need to download another app that I've heard about it that doesn't let me touch anything. But it's like, it's an addiction, and it's okay. Like, some people are, and that's why I don't judge people.
And a great way to know you're addicted is if you delete the app and you go on your phone and you find yourself typing in
the finger
letters.
the finger goes where the app was before, right?
I've done it so many times. I'm like, oh my gosh.
But that's what I'm saying. This is a systemic problem.
Yeah, but humans, like, going back to, you're all about sleeping in 78-degree weather, which is insane. You know, you like keeping it el natural. Humans weren't supposed to have this dopamine vehicle staring at us all day. We weren't built for it.
But we are onto something with our phones. We are onto something.
Phones are tight. I'm not upset about it.
Yeah. We are creating beautiful things because it's how we use technology, right? Because technology is like a web that is like, before I didn't care about people in Japan or whatever. I didn't even know people in other countries. Now I have people, like friends all over the country, and I talk to them, the world, right? And I care about what's happening everywhere because I have friends. And so the internet is connecting this web, it's connecting this whole organism, and it's beautiful what's doing.
You know what we need to do, and we talked about it. I mean, you already built this amazing community like you're talking about. You met these people from all over the planet, but we need to, and I'm talking about the two of you in this room, we need to start going camping when it gets a little bit nicer and doing more like phone-free trips where it's just connecting with no phone.
Yeah.
Just get a phone detox, relax.
I agree.
Maybe
we don't even need to go camping, just getting people gathering, like community, going back to community. For me, it's like what I'm doing right now in my life is going back to community, because I see that's where we heal. If we have an issue with like addiction of whatever, food or phone or work, we heal in community.
Working out helps a lot with the addiction too. Like, I'm not on my phone when I'm working out. I'm not on my phone when I'm rollerblading.
Yeah, for sure. But just, I feel like as a society we are very much lonely. Like we're so connected through our phone, this false sense of connection in a way that we like before I would hang out a lot with my friends, and now I'm always like on my phone, like, oh, I'm just gonna stay home with my phone. For you. It's like a company that I have.
So like I get like crazy anxiety when I'm like not doing anything. So when I love about this home is it's always an ongoing project. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a synonym for my brain, right? I'm always just working on something new, and I love it because it keeps me active, keeps me working on stuff, keeps me using my brain to explore. And when I'm like by myself, I kind of get anxiety. I kind of just, not by myself, but when I'm not doing anything is what I meant. Yeah. I kind of get this just, I get restless. I start thinking negative thoughts.
Yeah, because as a society.
My question though, is that an issue of me not being comfortable in my skin, or is that an issue of we as people are supposed to be like progressing towards something?
It's the society that we're nowadays. It's always like more, we have so many options. Think that before, if you were to buying clothes, you just had the mall and the store. and there were just those, and you picked, like, you had 3 options that you liked, you picked them, and you went home and you were happy. But nowadays there's so many options, and
Yeah,
we
like
think
picking on Amazon
yeah,
is tough.
so think
tough.
that virtually there's
Can you
no
imagine that?
there's no
It's crazy.
limit of space. Before, the store had a limit of how many clothes I can put here. Now you keep scrolling and there are endless options, and we are in a society where we have options for everything, and like it's just a matter of happiness. There's even a book that something choice, yeah, I forgot, the wisdom of choice, something like that. If we have too many choices, we get too overwhelmed and we don't pick anything. But if we have only 2 choices, we make a choice and then we go with that.
They're
and
like,
we
am
don't
I going to
keep
be the
thinking.
hunter or the gatherer?
Yeah, right? But now we have so many options, like dating apps, endless option. We never pick anyone because it's just gambling, right? We're gambling. You're just seeing more and more people and everything
I
in life,
deleted
like
all my
clothes.
dating apps.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I'm a way better person because of it.
I know, but it's like we have too many options. The more options we have, the more unhappy we are. And
It's so true.
And then you are at home and you cannot sit with yourself, because as society also we're taught that we are only valuable if we're producing something.
Well, I also think it's like, that's why I love animals, because in animal you always get to like, I like to show my love. Like I like to love on something.
yeah, but it's easy to love animals, right? It's very difficult to love humans. Animals just give love, right?
That's
Dogs are givers. They just give love. So
Yeah.
that's why people are carrying dogs in strollers. Like, what the fuck, right? Like, really, it's easy to take an animal and love that animal, but love humans, love your family. Like Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. It's difficult to love humans,
well, that's the thing
right?
that's amazing about South American culture and a lot of these other cultures, is that is the vibe.
Yeah.
Another
yeah.
reason I love Miami is because I meet, amazing,
Yeah.
beautiful humans like you
Yeah. Oh,
that
thank you.
remind me that there's a
Yeah,
lot of
but
love to go around.
Yes, yeah, we're very touchy. We hug each other a lot. Yeah, it's true. I love that, and I miss that, because here in United States, it's very much the mindset here in Brazil. Even though we're poorer there, we have more quality of life. We spend more time with people and we gather together and we do things. Here, people are always like on the go, like always doing something. When I moved here, I remember I lived with a host family, sandwiches all the time. And in my mind, I'm like, where am I going to eat real food? It's just sandwich, because people are always on the go, just sandwiches. And,
Yeah,
and I'm
PB&J
like,
was so fire. It's so sad when we found out that shit was crazy.
yeah, so it's and again, it's a systemic problem, but a big part of that for me in my journey, it's been going back to my heart and having compassion with myself, because I'm not going to be able to love people if I don't love myself, if
True.
I'm not there for myself.
And that's a big thing with the relationship thing, is you need to be
Yes.
comfortable being alone before you can truly be comfortable with someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's and we're not taught to be with ourselves and to just relax in our body, and we're taught that we're only valuable. Like, how do they call someone that has depression? Oh, he's not functional. Like, what is this? What does it make a functional human being?
I
Like,
spoke with DJ M. once, the Miami Heat announcer. He's also Jamie Foxx's personal DJ. He was on the podcast, and he was saying he loves complimenting people. Loves talking people
I've been
up.
practicing that.
Loves hyping them up.
I love that.
He loves
Ian.
doing it. And I
Yes.
love it too.
I know you do.
I love it, right?
I practice that a lot
But
with the woman in the
what he
circle.
said was, when people compliment him, he gets really like, whoa, it's like weird to him.
Oh, to receive love.
He doesn't like kind of like it. It's like he doesn't really know what to do when like someone compliments him. He's just kind of like.
Ooh.
So it's interesting because I
To
think
know
a
how
lot
to
of
receive.
people are really good at giving or taking, or vice versa, but to be good at both, that's a skill, because sometimes you do need to just stop and smell the roses. Like for me, I'm always very hard on myself, which also makes me productive. It makes me I like to think like an A player, because I'm always like not satisfied, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also a very negative thing, because sometimes you need to just stop and smell the roses and think about how far you've come in life, and think about what 16-year-old you would think about you now, or 10-year-old you, what you're doing now. They'd probably be so proud of you.
But I feel like this is the dance of polarity, of duality that we have as a human. It's the feminine and the masculine. The masculine is always on the go, is getting shit done. It's action, productivity, and always doing. and the feminine is receiving, is receptive, is very loving. It accepts and it just embraces everyone. And we are in a masculine society, right? Even a woman, like feminism, are women trying to be masculine? And me as a woman, I am exhausted. I want to be in my feminine, but society needs me to be in my masculine. And now I see that everything that I say now, it's the relaxation of the nervous system. And if we always are in the masculine, we cannot relax our nervous system. And we're always going to be like on the go doing things. And we don't think that we deserve to receive love. So it's like you give and you receive, and being in the feminine and just relaxing. It's the breath, right? We're always we're pulling, but we never pull out, which is the feminine. So we're always like, our breath is shallow. We're always like, instead of just relaxing in the feminine.
Deep breath is tight.
Yeah, that's how we relax our nervous system.
Last night, we were talking after the Heather podcast, me, Sky, and Heather. We had such a good post-game combo. Specifically, Sky was talking a lot about how he got into the breath work, that got into doing the ice baths. And you were dropping some nuggets the other day on this.
Yeah, some good nuggets. Heather was talking about her religious devotion to God. And I was asking her if she had any deep experiences through breath work that were more spiritual, but she didn't seem to have gone that deep in breath work. And for me, that was the most spiritual tapped in I've gotten was through breath work, and obviously through mushrooms as well.
But you said it was because you were doing it consistently for like a week with Wim. Yeah,
I mean, we took it to intense levels, and by doing that, you are activating that part of your brain to
so think that your breath carries you to another level of consciousness. That's how powerful the breath is.
So would you say your breath is as good of a drug as MDMA?
The meaning of breath
is the drug.
Breath,
that's what Wim says.
It is a drug. It is a drug. The way that we breathe tells us in which level of consciousness we are. So the meaning of breath is birth and death. Breath, right? It's pulling in when you are born and when you die. So talking about spirituality, right? The more shallow our breath is, the shittier our life is, the more in our mind we are. And the more we breathe deeply, the more in our heart we are, and the more we feel our body. So it's a process of this, because our consciousness is already there. Our mind is capable of so much, but we're not bringing the body with us. And it's 3D, right? The third dimension is the mind. It's super intellectual, and we are overloaded with information. We are super intellectual, reading the books and listening to the podcast, and then we talk and learning all this very deep intellectual stuff. And how do we integrate all of that? Because that's an issue nowadays. We are learning so much, but how do you embody and incorporate the all this intellectual baggage, right? You bring it to the heart, which is the fifth dimension. It's living from the heart. And there are a lot of people that live from the heart and the breath. If you're here in your mind, in the intellectual, I need to learn the next thing in the book, and I need to do this. You are always shallow breathing. When you breathe deeply, you invite like the heart, and you relax.
Yeah.
Like when I do meditation, I breathe deeply, and I see that like I'm more loving and I'm more in my heart. So it's a process of going to the body. We think that we're transcending, but we're actually learning. The soul is anchoring itself in the body. So we need to bring the body with us in the journey. We cannot, because the body dictates the rules of the game. If your body doesn't want to do anything, you're going to get sick and you're going to be in bed. And then the body's like, I'm not going anywhere if you don't listen to me. So it's like, how much are we incorporating and being in our heart and bringing the wisdom to the body and practicing the stuff that is all in the intellect, right? So it's breathing. That's how we in the fifth dimension is another level of consciousness, that you breathe more deeply, you are more present in your body, and you are feeling more things, because when you are in the mind, you are not feeling like
the fifth dimension.
The fifth dimension is living from the heart, and there are people, and it's not like you are evolving to this other reality. No, it's this reality, and every person is in a level depending on their breath. That's why breath work is so powerful.
Let me take a step back here. Where do you want to take you and your brand because you're doing a lot of stuff.
Ooh.
You're posting all these videos. You've been consistent on YouTube. You've been growing, and you've been just speaking. If you guys follow Laisa Maverick on Instagram, you'll see Laisa's just spitting bars. She's preaching. Because you talk fast, you talk a lot, and you talk, but it works. It grows because you have so much to say. But where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, so my last mushroom trip, my mask fell off, and I've been intellectual. So all this talking is me being very intellectual and not breathing deeply, right? Talking about my own internal journey. And I know that my power as a human is in my heart, my ability to love people around me. Because people like me, like let's suppose that you have a heroin addiction. Of course you don't have, but me, and I keep telling you, but Ian, you need to read this book, understand, like read this book and listen to this podcast and do this, and then I'm just throwing a lot of words on you and telling you like, oh, you need to understand. So people, you're not gonna change if I keep telling you, but if you're gonna change if I sit with you and tell you, Ian, I'm here with you. I'm here to support you. Whatever you need, I'm here, and I'm going to love you the way you are. I'm going to accept you. Even if you're doing heroin, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to love you anyways. Accepting people for who they are.
Like
because we think that people are only going to change if he's so fat. He doesn't lose weight because he doesn't know that he needs to eat veggies and fruits and like all this fitness Instagrams. Like, no. People don't change because they have deep traumas. It's not that they don't have the intellectual understanding. They are not being loved. They're not loving themselves, and people around them are not accepting them for who they are.
Interesting. So the reason why someone might not take care of themselves is due to deep traumas.
Yes.
That's the underlying.
Yeah, lack of self-love, right? We are very hard on ourselves. And I see that.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that like cinnamon buns are phenomenal.
Of course, there is this part too.
Right.
But like that's what I have all this intellectual baggage, and in my one-on-one sessions, I say that sometimes I just need to hold a space for the person and tell them I am here with you and I love you. You are very powerful. You can do this, and I'm just loving them for who they are. I'm not trying to change them and drop them a method, and I'm seeing that people flower when they're loved. Not when I tell them all my baggage, because it's my ego too. Like, I'll do this because I did that. For me, it worked. For you, it's going to work too. So in my journey, what I see, it's getting out of the mind and going to the heart and living more in my heart and being there for people. Like me telling my dad, my dad was always an alcoholic since before I was born. And I've always talked to him like, Dad, you need to stop drinking because alcohol is really bad. And nowadays, I got in the habit of telling, hey, Dad, I love you. You know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And he can even answer me. He can answer me. He responds something very generous like, oh, everything good for you. It's like something in Portuguese. But I see that like, I have all this intellectual, like I've done Vipassana retreats. I've drank ayahuasca like 30 times already.
That's interesting.
And then like, I can love my parents.
I even remember when I used to say like, I love you to my mom, who's like a crazy alcoholic. It was always a very weird experience.
Because they can receive, but we can love them because they don't know how to receive. And my dad doesn't know too. And in me, I want to be able to tell my dad how important he is and how loved he is, even though he's an alcoholic. And I don't need to throw my intellectual baggage on him. But I still do that as a person. Like I see myself transitioning from the mind to the heart. And I know that my power is in my heart. And I feel like we are in this evolution of consciousness that we are learning to live more in our hearts. And people don't change for us just talking. Me telling my dad that alcohol, he knows that alcohol is not good. He just can't stop drinking because he has deep trauma. He doesn't love himself, you know. So me telling him that I love him is going to help him way more than me just telling him, hey, Dad, let me send you this research about alcohol, what alcohol does to your liver and kidney and blah, blah. He knows all of that. So people know, like people have the intellectual understanding.
The evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what we're rolling.
How do you see yourself? Can you resonate with what I'm saying, the intellectual and the heart?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're so interesting because like your messages are so dope. Like you really thought this through.
No, I'm trying to embody it. I already thought it, but I'm trying to embody it.
Like
challenge.
At first it's a lot. It's like a lot for someone to process. You're like, whoa, is this girl like whoa, like. But the reality is that like you've really gone deep into your soul and thought about these things, and you're so excited to share. You're so excited Kind of like a dog's excited, like when someone comes home, like the tail's wagging. Like that's what the energy I
That's
get
life.
with you.
It's so much fun.
But then you go and it's crazy because someone might think that you're like this all the time, but then you just go and be quiet for like 8 hours straight, and like you're in your mind. And that's so interesting.
I spend a lot of time
you
by
have
myself.
that polarity of you go deep inside. I don't hear from you and for like a week and a half, and then you come out.
Yes.
And it's like the new version, and then you're so excited to share
the
everything
bomb.
you've learned.
Yeah, yes.
You know, and it's so, I don't know. I think that the future holds more of this. It needs to be more connection. It needs to be more, people talk about love. It needs to be more just, more feeling like that you're out there. But it's interesting because a lot of times people say, I need to travel. I need to travel. I need to travel. And then they start traveling the world and they feel empty and they're traveling, right? So I truly do think that calling something a home base is better for you than always traveling, because then you never really have a home. And I think building a community is important, and like picking a community.
For
like
sure.
the options thing. When you have so many options, you never really ever are happy, right? And you could think about that in dating, but you can also think about that with where you live. And you might always say, what if? So like me calling Miami my home is my commitment to deciding this is going to be my tribe, right?
Yes.
I could have done this in anywhere else in
That's
the
where
US.
I'm going to plant seeds.
Yeah, exactly. And then use that as your base, use that as your ant colony, and then go rip your ants to other hives and say, what up? I saw this video recently of like a bunch of like carpenter ants, and they formed like a 12-foot bridge trying to attack this like wasp hive.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. It was so, I hate ants. Like mosquitoes, ants are right under mosquitoes. I respect ants. I don't respect mosquitoes. You got to respect an ant. They can lift so much more than their body weight. It's unbelievable. I think it's right there. Incredible moment. Ant builds a bridge. Yeah, look at that. Those are all ants.
I cannot believe that.
Can you imagine the coordination that these things go through to do that? That's crazy.
Look at the community work. We need
But
to
then
do
imagine
that
them
with
in your
love.
house. Like that's not tight.
Like there's a guru that I follow that he says that the same way that people are so like, evil people, that they organize themselves so much, like the serial killers, they organize. We need to be that hardcore about love too. Look at this community work. It's beautiful. Nature has so much to tell us about how to live our lives.
It's beautiful until you get bit by a spider and your arm goes crazy.
It's beautiful to look at. But I feel like as humans, I do believe that part of our evolution is going back to community. But when I came here, I said, I'm either going to create a community or I'm going to infiltrate a community. Yeah.
Well, you're going to infiltrate the Miami drum circle. I know that.
Yeah.
That's your vibe.
I love that. Yeah.
But I do know that
We're not going to smoke here. Where's the joint?
I think we're pretty
Post-pod.
Okay.
But,
Ooh, I'm excited for
I
the
always
post.
end every podcast with this. And it's asking a question. If you could go back in time and you could have talked to the girl that that girl that was in Brazil, maybe 16-year-old you, and you could have said something to her, 1, 2, or 3 things that could have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache, headache, learning lessons. What are maybe some of the things that you would tell her?
Okay, I remember something else. You asked me where I'm going with my business. I feel
Whoa,
like now
whoa,
that
whoa. What was this?
no, it's very fast. It's very fast. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Squirrel.
I think that after I start doing this practice and just like anchoring light into my life, I feel like whoever says, like whatever guru says that they have the absolute truth and they know what's going on, they don't. Whoever says that they have the truth, there's no absolute truth. And the more I anchor this light and this connection with the divine, I see that I'm being guided. And there is a quote from John of Cross, something like that he says, if you want to be sure of the path that you tread on, you must close your eyes and walk in the dark. And I do feel that I'm being guided. There's something working through me. And I've been thinking like everything that happens in my life, I've been suffering way less because I think that whatever is happening in my life, it's happening for the well-being of all, like the whole, right, of the God consciousness. So if something bad happens to me, it's gonna be the best for the whole. And it's another mindset of just getting out of my own little thing. Like I created my channel because I was very depressed, and I put a note on my mirror and said, if you're depressed, go help people, And I feel like the more, like, the truth is that I don't know where I'm going, but I know that I'm being guided, and I know that I'm serving. I'm in a place of service, and that changes the whole game, because I know that the bad things that happen in my life, it's guiding me to the best for the whole, not exactly for my ego. But
I love that.
Going back, if I could go back and give an advice for my...
You said that like a missile just being shot. Like you were just like...
I know. You need to see my one-on-one sessions. People are like that in the end. I know I need to be less intense. Or no.
No, I know. I'm just saying. It was like, okay, let's go. So question though, what would you say to that girl now, knowing what you know now? And
relax the fuck down. No one knows what they're doing. Whoever thinks that they're pretending that they know, they don't know. So just relax. You're being guided. God's working through you. There's light. Like, we're so powerful. We're so powerful. If we could really see our essence, we would just burst in tears of bliss, like our true nature, who we are. But we are inside escape, and thanks to our ego, we are experiencing reality differently. I'm me, and you're you. But our essence is God consciousness, and it's very beautiful. So, like, I would tell myself to just relax and trust the divine guidance, because everything is being divinely orchestrated. Yeah.
Well, I just took a big dose of this drug called Laisa Mendez, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on.
Let's fucking go. Thank you so much.
Let's fucking go.
Okay, I want to do that.
And by the way, for everyone that sees this amazing portrait of myself, I don't think it's not going to be on camera. Oh, shit.
I want to do something. Maybe I can look at that. I want to do something.
But I've never had, like, that's one of the coolest gifts anyone's ever done
Talking about
for me.
complimenting people, I've been doing this practice, and I would like to do it with you, and maybe with this Sky too. I brag that you are a very bright person. Like, whenever you come, like when I call you, you bring so much light, and you are always excited, and you are ready to go. You have this energy that, like, it doesn't matter if the day is good. It's like, it's a damn good day regardless of what's happening. So you have this ability of bringing the light into people's life, and it's very soothing for me to be around you. And I brag that you are very, like, determined in your things, like your house, the way you organize things, you pay attention to, like, your desire to have a home. It's not just a house, it's a home. So I brag that you have this ability of making me feel home when I come to your place, and you make things beautiful. You create beautiful things, and you are passionate about, I brag that you are passionate about many things. I love people that have passion, that have a desire to, like, cigars. Now I'm going to dive into cigars. And you have a passion towards food, and people that are around you benefit from this passion. So I brag about your desire to create things, and with food and with cigars. With this podcast, you are spreading your light, right? I brag that you're very committed to your business. Like, I know that you have your other job, and you do so many things, and seeing what you created when you came here. I remember when I followed you there, like when we met in California, and it was just everything that you created in your life. I brag that you had the strength to, and I know that you had a difficult upbringing too, like you had your traumas, and I brag that you were able to rise, and it's beautiful to see your whole progress, and seeing you here in your house and the people that you have around you. I brag that Sky is a very psycho about the ice bath, and there's no, like, it's like, let's just go. And both of you energy, I brag that you guys have a really good connection. You bring the best out of me when I'm around you too. And the whole challenge with the ice bath and being ready to go all the time, even though life can get difficult, you are always ready. So I'm getting in the habit of complimenting people, because I feel like we don't do that very often, right? It's a new language that we're learning from the fifth dimension.
Well, that was like 22 gallons of premium fuel right there. Wow. Oh, snap.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Damn.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You make me feel some type of way.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate you and Sky a lot.
Love you.
Love you, Laisa.